Hello, everybody. It is Saturday, February 4th, 2023. And I've had a couple of days off and I'm ready and raring to go on the Wrestling Republic daily broadcast. Now, today we're going to talk SmackDown and we're also going to be talking about NXT Vengeance Day, which of course is tonight in just a few hours' time. But first of all, let me introduce the co-hosts for today. First of all, we have Coby Galenzoski. How are you, Coby?
Promoting us on Twitter right now, so we're
Nice.
doing it. But I'm here. I'm ready for Takeover. I still call him Takeover. I'm still ready for Vengeance Day. I'm hyped for it. SmackDown was good. We had a great ending. We'll get into it later.
Absolutely. It truly was. What about you, Clark? Sorry, I need to introduce you first. We also have Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
No worries at all. I'm stoked to be back once again. It's a beautiful Saturday here in Southern California. We got not a takeover, but feels like a takeover, and outside of the Performance Center NXT, which I'm really excited about. And I always loved the Vengeance pay-per-view back in the day growing up. Randomly, that was one of the DVDs I used to watch, was the old Vengeance when Batista and Triple H, the Hell in a Cell match. I believe it was Vengeance 05. Is one of my favorite all-time pay-per-views. So bringing back that name was exciting for me, for sure. And initially when I saw the card, I wasn't as excited, but the closer we get, the more I'm like, there's a couple here. Waller and Breaker I'm more interested in than I expected, but we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. We do have a lot to get into today. And first of all, we're going to kick things off by talking about last night's episode of SmackDown, where we had the final of the tag team tournament, which had been going on for the last few weeks on SmackDown. And Braun Strowman and Ricochet, who of course were late entrants into the tournament, replacing, who was it they replaced? Sheamus and Drew McIntyre last week after they were taken out by the Viking Raiders. Braun and Ricochet defeated Imperium to win the entire thing. So despite the fact they entered the tournament late, they did win the entire thing in the end. And of course, I said at the start, I wasn't sure why they weren't in it from the start of the tournament, because they've been the tag team they've been building up over the last month or so. But yeah, good winners. And now they're off to face the Usos. Well, at least one half of the Usos next week. But what did you think about this segment, Clark?
I mean, I really, again, am still shocked and love how much I actually enjoy the pairing. I did not expect Ricochet and Braun to hook me in, especially after the flippity dippity comment. That was not that long ago, and after the Saudi Arabia show. I think it was the right call. With the state of the Usos as a team right now, it's even more interesting, right? They're almost a bigger threat, I think, than if the Usos were, under normal circumstances firing on all cylinders. With the dissension in the bloodline, it'll be fascinating to me to see how they factor into the future of this storyline, because I do think at some point here, Ricochet and Braun will probably even play a role in this Sami stuff. And a lot of people were expecting the Sami and Kevin type of pairing, but with what we saw later in the show with what's going on with No Jay and in the building and whatnot, there's a lot at play here, and it's going to be a fun ride to Mania as far as the tag team picture is concerned.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more there. What about you, Coby? Are you happy with Braun and Ricochet winning the tag team tournament?
Like I said, I thought it was the best move. I predicted it last night, saying I think this is the general direction they're going to go. You really can play with while the Usos either retain pinning Ricochet, because they're not going to pin Braun, but you can really play with them. And then if someone costs them the belt or not the belt, the championship match, they can. But it's definitely a course of, well, this is the team to use. I know Imperium you can kind of build a tag division around, but Braun and Ricochet just as that little guy, big guy dynamic and overall relationship that's being presented, it is over. They are working the crowd. The crowd are hot. Ricochet can get the pops for taking the athleticism. We have Braun, who would easily get hot tags and big hot tag pops. And I think it's worth it. Like I said, I genuinely think Braun Strowman's been the best return so far. He's delivered, and I mean, do I want to see them with the tag titles? I don't know exactly, because then I don't know who beats them. But I'm not opposed to it. But I do think that was the only move. I thought originally they were going to get a title shot later on anyway. So I knew, yeah, I knew that was kind of the direction they were going. Is they'd be in the tag division at some point, but they weren't in the tournament until late, which is fine.
Yeah. Like you said, you wouldn't have expected, them to get as over perhaps as they have done. And when Braun Strowman returned, I was not too, overly excited for his return, shall we say. But yeah, like you said, he has probably been the best return so far to the company, which I cannot believe I'm saying, but it is true. And him and Ricochet as a tag team, I would not have expected it, but it is genius from Triple H and WWE Creative. As the reason he was getting heat was for the, the flippity comments and all that. Well, pair him with somebody who does the flippity stuff, and there we are. Problem solved. But then we get into the next segment, and that was Charlotte Flair against Sonya Deville. And it was actually quite a good match. Nothing, out of, out super special or anything like that, but it once again showed how good Charlotte Flair is. And of course, actually, because she's been gone away for so long, I'd kind of forgotten. But she truly is, like, probably the best, in my opinion, the best in the women's division at the minute, at this moment in time. And Sonya Deville looked good as well, and it was just overall a really fun match, and I had no expectations going in for it. I wasn't a fan of the feud, but it was enjoyable. What did you think, Clark?
I agree with you on the Charlotte stuff. She's approaching like wrestle a broomstick territory, as I like to say sometimes. Like the Shawn Michaels, AJ Styles, Bryan Danielson type of, like, she's just so good. That's not to take away from Sonya, though. I thought Sonya stood out in this one and was kind of put in a tough spot. We know about how she hasn't won a singles match in so long. I always believed that Sonya deserves better than what she's kind of gotten booking wise. I thought she did a phenomenal job in the authority figure spot in a tough position, given what was going on with the the stalker personal life situation and whatnot. I thought she did an amazing job with that. It was cool to see them put on a good match. But I think Sonya deserves, I'm hoping coming out of this, it's not just this was Sonya's big moment was to put Charlotte over like that, and Sonya gets maybe a bounce back rivalry against somebody. I don't know exactly who I would pick off the top of my head, but I think it would be cool to see her maybe even lean into being a big heel in some way. Would be nice. I just, her in-ring talent is good too, really good. And athleticism as well. And I think given more work and maybe a storytelling wise, I think that's her biggest strength. And that's where this wasn't even a great story to be presented with, but she did a good enough job to get us here. And then Charlotte, obviously, blew us out of the water with her performance last night, I would say. But yeah, I just hope coming out of this that they kind of maybe give Sonya a big winning streak or acknowledge the fact that she hasn't won the singles matches or something. But yeah, that would be my biggest takeaway is I just worry about the way that Sonya Deville is booked long term,
Yeah, totally. Like we discussed, she hasn't won a singles match since 2020 now. It's getting to the point where you're like, something. Why is the company, not fired her? Why haven't they dropped her? Because, she's not won in so long. It is a bit of a joke. And she's got talent too. She deserves to be winning more than she does. I mean, I'm not always a fan of her acting skills, if I'm being completely honest. It's hit and miss. It really is. It's a bit cringe at times. But in the ring, she gets it done, and she looked great in this match last night. What were your thoughts, Coby?
Overall, I think like I said yesterday, I think Charlotte Flair is the better choice to elevate other talent because Ronda Rousey was not doing a good job. They had some heat with Face Raquel getting the babyface reactions, but at the end of the day, I think Charlotte Flair is the one that in the ring can work, can sell, and can do that elevating that a lot of talent do need. And at the end of the day, Charlotte doesn't get the credit she deserves for being able to do that. They often say, like, I can't remember who said it years ago, but it's often like if she needs to and she turns it up a notch, she is truly the best in the business for women's wrestling. And the fact that she doesn't have to go full on every week is solid, and it's great because she is that great of a talent. And I 100% agree. I want Sonya Deville to be a threat in the women's division. I want something to be done to make her a threat, a good heel. I don't think you can turn her babyface yet. I don't know what exactly you can do, but I think there's a reason or a method that could make it beneficial or make it an actually appealing product storyline arc for Sonya Deville.
Yeah, I really do hope that they put a bit more time into building Sonya from here on out. But now moving into the next topic, the Viking Raiders defeated the Brawling Brute in a fairly fun match before McIntyre and Sheamus attacked them on the ramp. And they did it to their faces too. They waited for the Viking Raiders to turn around and then they attacked them. It wasn't a sneak attack or anything like that. It was a bit of a brawl. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the match between McIntyre and Sheamus, the Banger Bros and the Viking Raiders. And then we got a replay of the not so great match between Bray Wyatt and LA Knight in the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. At the end of the replay, Bray Wyatt was seen watching it on his rocking chair, going back and forth, before Uncle Howdy puts his hand on his shoulder before turning to the camera in quite a horrifying visual. So yeah, Uncle Howdy seemingly survived the explosion, and this is Batman: The Dark Knight Rises all over again. Nobody knows how he survives, but somehow he has done. Then we had a fatal four-way to see who's going to join the four already announced women in the Elimination Chamber, in the Women's Elimination Chamber match. And Natalya defeated Zelina Vega, Shayna Baszler, and Shotzi Blackheart. So she will join Raquel Gonzalez, Asuka, Liv Morgan, and Nikki Cross in the Elimination Chamber match. And the final entrant will be decided this Monday on Raw. And of course, the winner will face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. Now, I was kind of questioning why they did go with Natalya at first, although now it's in Canada, so it's not a surprise in the slightest why they did it. But yeah, now moving on to the point which we're all going to have a lot to say about, the Bloodline angle to close SmackDown. And throughout the night on SmackDown, Roman Reigns was frustrated due to nobody in the Bloodline knowing where Jey Uso was. He sent Jimmy and Solo to look for him during the show. And once they returned with no luck, Roman apologized to them and said that, as an apology, he was going to let them have the rest of the night off and they could go to the truck and there was going to be some nice sushi there for them or whatever. Roman Reigns then came out to the ring with just Heyman, which was the first time in a while he wasn't accompanied by the Bloodline. And it looked a bit weird visually, actually. But Roman Reigns said that he came out and said that he wanted to talk about Cody Rhodes, who the crowd actually somewhat booed, but I think it was more so that, he said that he wanted to talk about Cody Rhodes, not Sami Zayn. So I presume that's why there was boos. But still, I'm still slightly concerned the crowd's going to turn on Cody. But Reigns then moved on to saying about, he needed to talk about Sami Zayn because the crowd was chanting his name and all of that. Reigns claimed that he knew Sami was greedy all along, but gave him an opportunity. Sami Zayn then came out of nowhere in a HUD and took out Roman Reigns before Roman Reigns got up and the two brawled. But Zayn eventually speared Roman Reigns. And then, he got the upper hand. Roman Reigns escaped. Zayn got a fantastic promo challenging Roman Reigns. Well, he didn't necessarily challenge Roman Reigns. He just said that he was coming for his titles. Jimmy and Solo Sikoa then attacked Sami Zayn from behind before Roman Reigns got back in the ring and joined the attack on Sami Zayn. And the show ended with Roman Reigns shouting at Sami Zayn in the corner, claiming that as he broke up his family, the Bloodline, he will break the hearts of Zayn's family in Montreal at Elimination Chamber, where the match will happen. Now, I'm just going to say this right now. I am 100% convinced that Jey Uso is going to screw over Sami Zayn at the Elimination Chamber leading to the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at Mania. I think this is all an act. I think they already have spoken to Jey Uso. I think basically Sami Zayn at this point is, it's all a game that the Bloodline are playing. But what did you think about this entire segment, Clark?
I loved it, and the Sammy Spear was off the charts. I loved that spot. It was shocking. It was beautiful. Roman took it amazingly. The selling was great. Top to bottom, still a great story. Still the best story going in wrestling. The Elimination Chamber thing, I don't know about if it's gonna be Jay screwing him. I think that there's still. I understand that maybe we're looking at getting towards a Kevin and Sammy match against the Usos, but maybe not. I don't know. I think there's enough else out there that I'm interested to see what they do with this. I don't see Sammy necessarily winning the title at Elimination Chamber, although I'm going to save my actual prediction for closer to, but it would be great. And yeah, all around, I thought it was awesome. The idea of Jay not being there was really good. I think it would have been too much in one night had they maybe found Jay or Jay was in the building somehow. I think that's a great stopping point for last night. They gave us the perfect follow-up after the big turn at Rumble. And now from here, next week, we have to know what Jay's up to. We may even see Jay on Raw. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting if Jay almost kind of acted like, he just was disinterested in the Bloodline stuff because he's disappointed and started wrestling singles matches on Raw. That would be a funny thing to me for a couple weeks on the way to Chamber. I don't know, something like that. I'm not sure because of because it reminds me of he went out of his way to do the right-hand man thing last night. Roman did in his promo, or one of his initial promos. And I thought that was one of the best phases of Jay's career. Now, obviously, given Jimmy's injury, it made more sense that Jay would be working as a singles competitor during that time. But it'd be kind of cool to see Jay get another, opportunity to make a small run inside of this storyline, because there's just it's like a big spider web with how many people are involved and how many stars have been made out of it. I mean, and to your point, Ben, you made about I'm a little afraid about Cody getting turned on, but not terrified, because I think that had more to do with Sami Zayn than it did Cody Rhodes. But overall, yeah, I love this story and what they're doing. And I mean, yeah, if you were ever going to give like a acting award to a professional wrestler, Sami Zayn and maybe even Roman Reigns both deserve one.
Yeah, and of course they have that tag match next week, the Usos on SmackDown. So how are they gonna? Is Jay just gonna come out the crowd?
How can they coexist? Sorry.
And yeah, I honestly think that Jay might just come out of nowhere. Like they're gonna be like, oh, he's not gonna appear. Then he comes out last minute on his own, joins him, they win the match or whatever, and then Jay leaves again, and you don't hear from him until the Elimination Chamber. Because I do agree, there's a lot of elements to this story. And perhaps, keeping some stuff a bit more secretive and unknown is a good idea. And of course, we had to see Sami Zayn last night, because otherwise, the hype around him might fall a little bit. So I'm really glad at what they did last night. I thought they handled it perfectly. But what about you, Coby? What did you think about the Bloodline and Sami Zayn segment last night?
I thought it was tremendous. Like, I like that Roman's keeping with us. Like, I don't want to talk about the past. And then he ended up having to, because he gave the crowd, the people, what they wanted. He wanted to talk about Cody Rhodes. And I like that. And I want to say Cody Rhodes is not going to get turned on. Cody Rhodes is filling the gap that Monday Night Raw had since he left. He's in the position of, he is a genuine face of the company. And the only reason he got booed at the Rumble is due to the circumstances. Number 30, no Rock. Everyone was believing the hype that, they could be getting someone bigger. And he was getting booed due to the association of the situation he was in. And you're not going to have Cody Rhodes get turned on, because this continues to go on the idea of the crowd being different. A WWE crowd is always going to be different than an AEW crowd. At the end of the day, I think they did tremendous work. I think there's a reason why we didn't see Kevin Owens, because he took way worse of a beating. All that. Sami Zayn, like I said yesterday, we have 3 SmackDowns. They really kind of just needed to do something, whether it was just make the official or return. Because I would not have waited. You could have waited for him to return in Montreal on the go home Friday. But then again, like, you have the question of whether or not that's the right move. I think it was good. I think it was the correct thing to do. Jey Uso needs to have that ambiguity. He needs to be like, where does his allegiance lie? He's saying he's out. He's separating from the bloodline. Is he going to come out for the tag title defense, or are they going to freebird it? Are they going to handicap it, where it's just Braun and Ricochet get the easy win on Jimmy Uso? Like, I don't know if that's the move or not. I probably wouldn't be if it was me booking, if I had the book. But I think you really got to play with Jey Uso not doing anything, or being that he's really taking the distance. If he does help Zayn, if he does go back to Roman, whatever, that has to come at a dime's notice, or almost as that quick surprise.
Yeah, great points. And you actually made me have an idea there about what could happen during Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. I actually think that basically Kevin Owens we won't see Kevin Owens until the Elimination Chamber, and I think Kevin Owens will return and take out the rest of the bloodline, making an even playing field between Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns, for then Jey Uso to come in and screw Sami Zayn. But I do think that they probably will wait until Montreal to have Kevin Owens return, because that pop will be absolutely tremendous. But we have Soul here in the comments saying, honestly, I'm surprised that Sami did not cut his hair or shave his beard, having a look like he did when he was NXT champion. Good point there. I mean, the one thing I would say is probably his current look is a bit more marketable. And I'm going to be honest, I think it's a bit better in terms of seeming like a star. I don't know either. Coby,
like, I guess to respond to that, I almost want to say it as look at what his character was in NXT. His character was that he was the ultimate underdog. This is not the ultimate underdog Sami Zayn. This is a face version of Sami Zayn, but this is Sami Zayn with a chip on his shoulder. He's not. Yes, he had somewhat of his chip on his shoulder in his Adrian Neville stuff, and it was like, well, could he really do it? Could he really get the job done? This is him determined. This is a different Sami Zayn, and I do enjoy and I like the look of like the beard. I like the messy hair. He's gonna take a beating and his hair is gonna be messy in Montreal, unless he does shave it for Montreal. I have no clue. But I like the fact that this is him. Roman turned on him, and he doesn't have to resort back to the ultimate underdog, because the ultimate underdog is not fit, or not the ultimate underdog. The underdog from the underground was the line, but that doesn't fit this story. Unless it does in the future, it doesn't fit right now, because he's just determined to beat up Roman, to destroy Roman's family.
And I would add to that, Coby, if I can, on NXT, to your point, right, the more clean cut look for Sami, the underground underdog, everything was great. There's still a little bit of that in this since the turn. It's only been a week, right? He was I mean, coming out of the conspiracy thing, I think that's when he started kind of growing the hair wild, like almost as if he'd gone a little crazy. But I see the look as such an everyman look. This one, that it's not a direct copycat of what he did in NXT for the ultimate underdog, but in a sense, it's almost even more like, it's not like he looks homeless or whatever, but it's the scraggly hair and the long beard or whatever. But like, he's a guy, I feel like ran into at a bar, you'd be like, hey, nice to meet you, and have a nice conversation, right? Like if you saw Roman Reigns in public, you're like, oh my God, like who is that guy? Right? Like and I think the visual is even almost better with his current look than it would be if he were clean shaven, right? Because Roman Reigns has like the very clearly, he's going to a barber to get the sides touched up, and he's got the bun, and he's got the nicely trimmed beard, and Sammy's not concerned with that because he's just kind of a man on a mission, right? He's the everyman. He's the guy that gets up and puts his boots on and goes to work every day. He's also happens to be charismatic and be a pro wrestler, but I really, really think actually the current look almost fits him as a babyface better than even, and I love one of the greatest runs I've ever seen, his run in NXT. But I think this almost fits the babyface. This current look fits the babyface character almost even better. I would say.
Those are very, very valid points. Like you said, the beard and the scruffiness. That is a fantastic point you've made. It really does fit the character very, very well. But now let's move on to tonight. NXT Vengeance Day. Happy Vengeance Day, everybody. It's not Happy Takeover Day anymore, but it's Happy Vengeance Day. But yeah, I said the other day, I'm not overly excited for this show, if I'm being completely honest with you, but I'm really, really hoping it delivers. But the one match which I am excited for is the 2 out of 3 falls match between Apollo Crews and Carmelo Hayes. I think these guys are going to, I think it's been fantastic between the two of them. And I'm predicting Carmelo Hayes. What about you, Clark?
Predictions wise, I'm going to go Carmelo Hayes as well, but I also think this should easily almost steal the show. And I would not be shocked if they do actually put Apollo over, but I think that means more for Carmelo's future than it does anything else, if that's the case.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think it's kind of obvious where it's going to go. Like, I mean, if you're watching the show, you kind of know the big money match for the championship is not Breaker and Waller. As much as they've went from this went from Deadline to New Year's Evil, and they've extended it, which I really like that move, to be honest. But the Mania match, or I guess the Mania weekend match, is 100% going to be Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. I don't think Apollo goes over. I would have I don't want to say this is me being selfish. I would have preferred if it was Axiom Carmelo Hayes, because they did that match in December as well, and that was just overall the better match to me. I think that could be they've kind of gone away from having Axiom in this feud, but Apollo Crews to me is very hit or miss on his product, or not on his product, but on the product. He's very hit or miss.
Yeah, hopefully he'll hit tonight. That's all I have to say on that, really. But the NXT Women's Tag Team titles are what's next. And truthfully, I'm going to be completely honest here. I just don't have any interest in this match. I have not enjoyed the storyline at all. I find it a bit cringe at times. And I find Fallon, Henley, and Kiana James, if I'm being honest, a bit cringe at times. They're booking and all of that. But yeah, anyway, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter are defending the NXT Tag Team Women's Championships against Fallon, Henley, and Kiana James. I actually think this one could go either way, but I'm gonna predict I'm gonna predict Katana and Kaden retain the titles. What about you, Clark? What are you going for?
I hate to just straight up agree with you on the second one in a row, but yeah, I'm going to go with they retain. And I also totally agree on storyline's just been a bit cringe. I do think that there's 4 talented wrestlers in the ring. So that you never know when you kind of get shocked. Bad story, good match happens. And I'm kind of rooting for that more than anything tonight on this one.
Yeah, same here. What about you, Coby? What is your prediction for this match?
So it was 2 weeks ago. We had the whole Katana Chance and Kaden Carter versus Alba Fire, and it was like, well, is Alba Fire going to get a tag partner? It was so grouped at the time. I was fine with it, but I genuinely think I'm sold on Alba Fire and Isla Dawn as a dark and just scary to deal with pairing. I think though that is the those are the champions or the challengers to take it from the champions. I think that they've teased it, as Kiana was talking to some guy on the phone on NXT, and it's like, well, you're supposed to be Brooks Jensen's girl or whatever, and it's like that she's not turning to the right. She's not turning face, Kiana James. It's at the end of the day, it's different storytelling. If you like it, you like it. It's weekly episodic television, and they're attempting to do multiple sides of storytelling. It's all right. It's not bad storytelling, but it's like, does this kind of fit in wrestling? No, not really, and it's all right. But I'm more worried about this match delivering than the women's three-way, which we'll get to.
Yeah. A cheating storyline. It's just a bit weird, honestly. I mean, that's nothing new in wrestling. We've had it before, but I'm never particularly being a fan of them, and I don't feel like this one's gonna be much, that interesting. But talking about tag team title matches, we now have the men's NXT tag team titles match, and it is a fatal four-way. And like I said in the show before, I'm not a fan of fatal four-way tag team matches, but hopefully this one delivers. And it's the New Day versus Pretty Deadly versus Chase University, Duke Hudson and Chase. Second name's completely
Andre Chase.
Andre Chase, that's it.
Andre Chase, well done, Coby.
I had a complete mind blank then for a second. I didn't have the full name in my notes, but yeah, versus Gallus. And like I said, I'm not a fan of fatal four-way tag team matches at all, unless it's like a stipulation like ladders involved, in which case, yeah, it can work. But truthfully, I just don't know how I feel about this match. But I feel like the fact that it's a fatal four-way probably means they want to take the titles off the New Day, even though I would have had them hold them for a little bit longer. But for that reason, I'm going to predict Gallus. What about you, Clark?
I love the New Day, and I'm totally hate to agree again, but I do, unfortunately, with you on the Fatal 4-Way tag thing. But anything New Day is involved in, I'm always excited about. I really love the New Day. They're just so fun to me. Like, talk about people you'd want to hang out with. But I think it's probably they've had their NXT run here. I think there's maybe some stuff on the main roster coming up. I don't know. It makes sense for them to drop them. Gallus, I like that pick, but I'm actually going to finally disagree with you on something. And I'm going to say they put him on Chase U. Why not?
Nah, they're very entertaining, Chase University.
They are.
Sure, but I just don't see a future in them as an in-ring tag team.
The
what do
Fratliner.
you reckon, Coby?
So yeah, God damn it, Clarky popped me. But yeah, I mean the tag finish is called the Fratliner. I like it as a finisher for the Chase U, but I disagree with the fact that I think this is just a way to soften the blow and not have Pretty Deadly take another loss to the New Day. But I do think the New Day are going to retain, because I think the WrestleMania match the Mania I'm going to continue to say WrestleMania match. The Mania weekend match, I do believe, is the New Day and Pretty Deadly once again, because they kind of want to drag it out, because there's only so many teams, unless the Mania match is the Dyad, which New Day versus the Dyad / GYV. I'd be hyped for that, because I know GYV can deliver as well. At the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think it's New Day.
I know as the GYV, the grizzled young veterans, they deliver, but as the Dyad, will they not? We'll have to wait and see. But I'd love to see the grizzled young veterans versus the New Day. That would have been an absolute blast. But now we get into a match which I actually was super excited for. In fact, it went toe-to-toe me with Apollo Crews and Carmelo Hayes as what could be match of the night, and that is the NXT North American title match between Wesley and Dijak. I was super, super excited for this. I thought this could be a very typical takeover-esque match. And then I had a conversation with Coby earlier, and he brought up a really, really good point. So I'm going to send it straight to you, Coby, so you can tell everybody what not only your prediction, but what you also mentioned to me earlier about what could be an issue with this match.
So what we were talking about earlier is just in general the idea of NXT wrestling and then the NXT specials. And it was like looking back at it, the last big special before COVID was Portland. And that is 3 years ago. Little less than 3 years ago because it was later on in February of 2020. And that was where we had the Keith Lee Dijakovic match when he was Dijakovic. And of course, that was them doing what they've done how many times before on the indies and in the past on a bigger stage like a takeover crowd. And then that show was tremendous in my opinion because we relived it as relived the card, and it was like, oh yeah, that was a really good show. But the biggest thing I saw was, is Dijak going to be able to deliver? It's been 3 years since he's had his match with Keith Lee. It's been pretty much 3 years since he's wrestled on a bigger stage at a higher level okay, he has to wrestle to the best of his ability. And I don't know if he can. Of course I want to be proven wrong. I never not want to be disappointed. Like, I don't want to be disappointed in wrestling. Nobody does. Is it a concern I have? 100%. It's a kind of a concern for Wesley, myself as well. I think they can deliver, but I don't know if Dijak can deliver to his former glory at all. I think the move is still going to be Wesley winning the championship or retaining, but I don't know how good this match actually will be. It's going to be interesting, though.
What about you, Clark?
I think you made a bunch of great points there, and I'm a huge fan of Dijakovic. Dijak wasn't a huge fan of T-Bar, but that's not really his fault, I don't think. I totally hear where you're coming from on the long layoff. I also feel like, though, just knowing his body of work, I would imagine as much as he was trying on the main roster, he was looking for a match like this. And this might be, and I'm rooting for this as much as anything, but it's also what I think is going to happen. This is Dijak. I got to get something off my chest here. And I think he's going to go absolutely balls to the wall, for lack of a better term, and put on a heck of a show. I also understand the concerns about Wes Lee. Bell to bell, he's looked good in singles action, though. And since he's won the championship, that's where I'm gonna pick Dijak to put on a show tonight. I don't know who wins the match. I'm gonna go with Wesley retains, but I'm gonna go with Dijak stealing the show.
Wow, I certainly hope you're right, because this match could be a banger. And I'm going to also agree with you guys and go Wesley as my pick, as I realized I forgot to say it a second ago. But then we have the NXT Women's title match where Roxanne Perez will defend against Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan versus JC Jane. And I see Roxanne retaining here for certain, but I think it could be an interesting match. And can Toxic Attraction prove themselves as a single competitors? That is the question. What's your prediction, Clark?
Ooh, this one was one of the toughest one for me because I don't know who you would go with between Gigi and right? Like which Toxic Attraction competitor do you pick? Right? Of the two. So I'm going to actually go with Roxanne retains tonight. I think they'll both be really good in the match. I think it'll be a good triple threat match for sure. Gigi and JC are both extremely talented. That dynamic is going to be hard to navigate given that they are teammates still, basically, right? But so I'm going to actually go with Roxanne retains, but I also have zero confidence that, I have 100% confidence that they can both handle singles action.
What about you, Coby?
So my big thing is with this match, like we kind of saw how Toxic originally looked after Mandy's departure, and that's all I'm going to say about Mandy. But I like at the end of the day, it was like something could be missing, or like their first promo of it. It was like, why is this going to work? Is this going to continue? Then they did the battle royal. The crowd was hot for them to go after each other. I mean, yes, it's the CWC crowd that they were in, but I thought they did a really good job with the battle royal, creating the tension. Overall, like JC is over, can be a future face. But at the end of the day, Roxanne Perez just started her reign. There is no way it's going to end this soon. I think we still got to get a Cora Jade title match in the future. If that's a Mania weekend match, could very well be. I'd be hyped with that. But at the end of the day, I don't know what could happen, and I do. I genuinely do think Roxanne Perez is going to win, but I don't think I know who's going to take the fall.
Yeah, it could well be a difficult one, and how you could get either of them to take the fall. But then we got the NXT title match, the main event, Bron Breakker defending against Grayson Waller in a steel cage match. And this is a bit of a hot take, but I'll say it anyway. I don't know the last time in the last few years that a steel cage match a steel cage has actually enhanced the match, and I would have much rather this be a different match type, because I think a steel cage in this day and age often limits a match. But what about you, Clark? What's your prediction for this one? Oh, sorry, my prediction is Bron Breakker retaining. What's your prediction, Clark?
There you go. I actually agree with you on the steel cage thing, but I'm telling you, I listened to Grayson Waller on Busted Open a few weeks ago, and not to plug another show, but he sold me on the match and sold me on himself and the rivalry too. And I really liked what they did with the footage at the Performance Center and the scuffle. And so I'm excited about it. And my prediction is that actually Grayson Waller wins the title. I think Grayson is going to win the NXT title because I think it's time to bring Braun up to the main roster. And why not now? And I think Grayson's on the way as well. But I'm actually going to go with Waller tonight for the win.
Wow. What about you, Coby?
I mean, I'd be fine with Waller taking the win. And that was the one thing, as I said, I don't know how good Grayson Waller is going to be in the steel cage match, but I don't doubt he can deliver because we've seen he does topes, he does the rolling down thunder stunner or down under stunner. I call it because
we named it.
Play on words. I named it.
Coby did.
At the end of the day, I think Waller can deliver, and we know Braun can deliver. I think this could be a really good steel cage match. I think this isn't going to end in a hokey. Oh, the cage broke. And I almost laughed because NXT originally brought back the War Games in WWE, and I had a dream that they did they did both rings for this match, and I was like, oh, so he can roll between rings. But I think it should be able to deliver at the end of the day, but I do think Bron Breakker's going to win because the only logical person to kind of take that title off is Carmelo Hayes, unless they have their NXT's version of Money in the Bank or some form of contract to do that type of thing. Hell, it could very well be Bron Breakker, Dragon Lee after it, because that's a name coming. That I saw kind of a fun tweet saying we should get him in the crowd like they used to with Keith Lee and all that. And I love that idea. And McIntyre, Bobby Roode, all that. I'd like to see Dragon Lee in the crowd. I don't know if we do, but I like that idea of Dragon Lee is going to be a phenomenal addition to the roster as well.
Absolutely. He is a top star coming in. And the only reason that I am predicting Bron Breakker, if this was Mania weekend, I'd predict Grayson. But I don't think it makes any sense to call somebody up in February when WrestleMania is only a couple months away. It's past the Royal Rumble now. The Royal Rumble debut is not a possibility. So I just don't think it makes much. I don't think there's many things you can do to be able to, bring Bron Breakker in now and have him have a WrestleMania match. I think it's a difficult time to bring someone up, which is why I reckon post-Mania will be when he does get that much-deserved call-up. But right before we end the show, we have a bit of an announcement today, and that is that Billy Starks will be the next guest on the Soul Sessions, and that will be on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel right here this Tuesday. It's going to be a great episode, and an episode which I'm super excited for. And you guys should definitely check it out. We'll have some cool news stories coming out from that as well. But that pretty much brings this episode more or less to a close, guys. Of course, Vengeance Day is tonight, so let's cross our fingers that we get a takeover standard. It's in an arena again, not just the CWC now. Proper takeover crowd, hopefully. But of course, the takeover's name's gone, but it has the takeover vibe. We'll have to wait and see. But thank you, Coby and Clark, for joining me today. Thank you for everybody who's been in the comments and you're watching this show, please leave a big thumbs up on the video and comment as well if you can. We really appreciate it as it helps us out a lot. But that's it for the show today, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you same time tomorrow.